So the Walt Disney Company recently got very desperate this past weekend by re-releasing Snow White into 1,300 screens. We know that 1,300 movie theaters displayed Snow White yet again, and it failed miserably. Now, going into the actual metrics, we're talking about $200,000, just a little above 200 grand is what Snow White made over the weekend. And if you really kind of go down and really go through all the metrics, that's about $50 per screen, which is abysmal for the Walt Disney Company. This is exactly why those like Bob Iger, the many Disney executives over there, the board of directors, they really believed that this was going to actually turn out to be a very good weekend for them, to really give it one final chance to see whether or not Snow White could make a little bit of a comeback after leaving theaters, and well, that worked truly to no avail. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So Rachel Zegler, still to this very day, in almost the middle point of May, is still going on the damage control train for Snow White, especially for promoting, the digital release of this movie, as well as what looms for June of this year when it goes to other platforms out there, the Disney Plus release, etc., etc. What's interesting here, though, has a lot more to do with the blame gaming going on, the scapegoating from Rachel Zegler, and how she's pointing the finger at different aspects as to why this movie failed. And I think that this is honestly coming from a place of bitterness after she is beginning to realize that even after the re-release this weekend, from Friday until Sunday, technically, if you put all the days together, it really just did not work for them at all. Now, interestingly enough, yet again, we know that Gadot and the whole Rachel Zegler drama is finally beginning to actually go behind the rearview mirror at this point, right? They're finally beginning to pass that. But what's interesting is that with the downfall of Rachel Zegler still getting worse, the more times that she goes against her critics, one major development going on now involves her most recent tirade after the re-release of Snow White happened just recently for a day and failed miserably for the Disney Company. Zegler delivered the following in a desperate move to get her point across. The thing that I don't understand, she says, the most about cinema is that there is this common misconception that a film is only successful if it does well at the box office. And I just feel that moviegoers are naive to think that Snow White was not a successful movie, because it sure was. We shouldn't just look at the box office metrics or a movie's financial status. This is a superficial thing to look at, and it for surely reflects on how society views everything today. It's all about the story, and so we decided to do something different. We decided to shift away from source material, and it was the right move to make moviegoers, especially women, to relate to a powerful female leader that can change her and other lives. And we told that in the story. We as moviegoers and those that value the arts need to stop looking at and obsessing over how much money a movie makes, because that's toxic behavior, and it goes nowhere. And it's just another reason for critics to project their issues onto the public about how they really feel about female-oriented films. It's time that we all call this out for what it is, a movie that was attacked for starring those that come from different ethnic backgrounds. And it's appalling that this is what society has come to. For families to decide to make Snow White into a political issue with me, who holds differing views, that should have nothing to do with whether or not you want to see a film. It has become so exhausting and clear to hear the same thing over and over with critics, where their only argument as to why they didn't enjoy this film is because it stars a woman. That's really the only argument that they have, and when you are an actress, I don't think anyone realizes how much I sacrificed to really put myself into this character. For a true actress, it takes a special state of mind to make that believable, and for me to be in the costume for 16 hours a day, and really making myself believe that I'm this Disney princess in a different era, it's taxing. So guys, let me just stop there for a moment. Again, blaming politics is just completely insane, coming especially from Rachel Zegler. She's the one that made it political right from the get-go. We all remember what she posted on X/Twitter, where she really just was promoting Snow White in the same exact paragraph, and then began to drag politics into that argument. Really just goes to show you exactly how out of place she really is when it comes to how you are supposed to behave on social media when you are representing a major Hollywood studio like the Walt Disney Company, and that backfired. This is exactly why a lot of major studios want nothing to do with Rachel Zegler ever again or at all, and it's exactly as well why she's only getting very, very small roles. Alright, the one role that she's working on right now is the one with Marissa Tomei. It's only going to be a very low budget movie. We're talking like maybe a couple of $1 million to make this thing, and it's only going to be shown to a handful of screens in the US. And I think that's going to be something that really kind of shows you the status of her career in 2026 or 27, whenever they decide to drop that movie in quote-unquote theaters. So again, she goes on to allude further to the ongoing issues, and nobody realizes what actresses have to go through to accomplish their goals and to perform to their greatest potential. So I just think there is a lot of unfairness in this country and in this society and toward the art of film. It's obviously one side of the country that is contributing to the art of film to not perform well anymore, all because of their biased opinions that have gone way too political, and how that's getting in the way for this industry to attract the moviegoers that they need to create something magical. With Snow White, that was one of our greatest obstacles, and I think differing political opinions are to blame for why we just didn't reach those that we should have. Again, there she goes on blaming about politics. Now look, I think that what Tom Cruise did a couple of days ago was amazing. You guys may or may not have heard about this story. I'm sure that many of you did. He was being questioned by a correspondent on whether or not the tariffs contributed to some challenges. And he said, listen, let's just talk about the movie. And it shut a lot of people up. And you have a lot of those in Hollywood that actually got offended by what Tom Cruise said and how he shut down that correspondent. And look, this is Tom Cruise. I think he's one of the last movie stars out there that really just stays, very much within himself as a professional, and just stays with promoting the movie, doesn't drag politics into it. And he knows that. He knows he doesn't want to alienate his fan base, or, whoever's going to go ahead and decide to see his film. He doesn't want to alienate those people. That's exactly why Rachel Zegler is the opposite of what Tom Cruise is, right? So you have this very differing moment in Hollywood right now. You have some studios that are moving away from DEI. Meanwhile, you have other studios like HBO that are just doubling down on that nonsense, regardless of the new presidency, Donald Trump, really pressuring DEI to be abolished. HBO's not listening, Disney's not really listening 100%. Yes, they have backtracked a little bit, but they're not really vanquishing it 110%. Again, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about the re-release of Snow White, which is abysmal when you really think about it. 1,300 screens, $200,000, $50 per screen when you really kind of crunch down the numbers. That's abysmal. That's really bad. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.